From lawmakers across the Carolinas tonight. North Carolina Attorney General and Democratic nominee for governor Josh Stein released a statement calling the president a true patriot. Stein says Biden's decision exemplifies his commitment to always putting the country before himself. Governor Roy Cooper, who again being mentioned as a possible VP candidate, posted to social media thanking the president for service to the country. Cooper says the president has cemented his place as one of the country's finest presidents.
Representative Alma Adams echoing the governor's statement, saying Biden and Harris have had one of the most successful administrations in history and has served the country well. South Carolina Congressman Jim Clyburn, who is often credited with igniting the Biden campaign 4 years ago, says the president has improved the lives of Americans and has brought the country together. He also says he's supporting Kamala Harris as the Democratic presidential nominee. Our coverage of this historic event will continue throughout the night. Right after this newscast, you can join us on WBTV's news app. We'll be talking with our Washington correspondents about what President Biden's decision means for the upcoming election.